What's up, Cash Crew, and welcome back to another episode of Cash Talks with me, Samora Cash. I'm here at Dude IDK Studios, and we are about to get into yet again another episode where we get into all the things. I'm so excited to be back. Today, I'm riding solo, doing my solo dolo thing, hanging out. But I wanted to get into kind of some things that were the basis around what this whole podcast was going to be about. So, from the beginning, from its inception, like it's been all genuinely about, you know, getting into what makes a podcast come together from just the very beginning. So for me, it was all about, manifestation. I've been really putting all of this together for quite some time in my head before it was actually ever brought to you here live. But with that being said, there were so many parts of it that just seemed important to kind of touch on, especially after kind of giving you a little bit of an intro about myself and just kind of where I've come from and my journey. But today I kind of wanted to get into the little, basis of what I've kind of thought that this should build around. So the first thing that was really important to me was about the manifestation piece. So manifesting your dreams. Now, so many people are always like, how do I start something? How do I begin to kind of understand what it is that I want to do for myself? And for me, it's always been about writing it out. Also, just being able to have something that you see its physical form almost daily. So for me, it starts oftentimes with waking up, right? And starting my day off with kind of going through what are my goals and what are the things that I want to see come to life. So I think having things written down and seeing them every day, like on paper, for me, it's on my computer. So I get to, wake up in the mornings while I'm having my coffee and kind of look through, what are my goals? What have I based, my life around for that day or for that week? Or what is it that I'm looking to do? And every single year, I set up my entire year. So, like, I'll start in maybe November, December, and I'll start to kind of really unravel like, how did this year go? Did I gain the traction on the things that I wanted to gain things on? Did I, accomplish the goals that I wanted to accomplish? And so I really just start to write them down and kind of set the new year up with what it is that I want. So I sit at home with my, coffee, with my glass of wine, whatever it is, and I'm just, really digging deep. Like it's not just, hey, I want to change the world. Well, sure, you want to change the world, but like what is it that specifically you want to do for you to make change happen, to see things come to fruition? So I really kind of channel that into my own just vision. So for me, I start to type little words like the small goals. I don't start big, I start small, and I kind of hone in on kind of what those things are and what they look like for me. And so for just starting out at that little base point, it kind of builds things into like a bigger stratosphere of kind of where I can go from there. So sometimes with me being a numbers person and I love numerology, I'm sure we'll get into all of that as Cash Talks goes along. But it's I start with kind of like a number. So let me start with like a top 5 or a top 10 and let me start to write out like what are my visions, what are my goals. And so I start with that and that kind of opens up what I kind of get to along the way. So for this year, I think I've already started to hit, I think I'm at 24 kind of like visions or whatever it is, that almost like a vision board, but without making the actual board, just kind of writing it all down. So that starts there. And then, part of the whole manifestation piece isn't just saying, oh, I'm going to dream this or I'm going to write this down and then I'm never going to look at it again. Like it's never about, being able to walk away from it. It's a daily choice to kind of look into it, look at it, like look at it from a different perspective. Some days it might have been something that I wrote down and I'm like, wow, I'll go back like a week later and be like, I don't even remember writing that. Or it's something that I really want. And so that's one of the things that I kind of focus in on. And the key to all of it is from what I've learned and just my experience, is you really have to be able to meet your vibration. You have to be able to, say, like, this is what I want, but how do you meet it in the middle? Like, how do you really channel that energy towards it? So, it's not just like I was saying earlier, it's not just sitting with it and writing it down and then walking away from it. You have to be able to mentally see it every day. So, whether that means you're sitting there reading it, or if you're in the shower, or like whatever it is that you're thinking through it daily, to be able to kind of meet it halfway and to start to see things come alive. So that's one of the key points of kind of where I got half of the ideas that I've gotten just in my drag career. I mean, I think that you really have to be intentional with what it is that you seek and that you want. You can't just, say that you want something without putting in the work to get it. And I think so many people, so many situations that we're surrounded by, especially people that I just kind of talk to and, connect with on a daily basis, sometimes they're like, well, I wrote it down, but I'm not getting anywhere. And so that's kind of like the piece that you have to be able to pay attention to, is like, it takes more than that. It takes the work ethic, it takes every energy that you have in putting that towards it. It's not just, not just a thought. It's like, okay, here's a thought now, but how do I take that thought further? So that's a big piece of just kind of how this whole podcast came to life. It started as an idea, and then I was like, okay, well, let me research how to really make this bigger than just, sitting at home behind a computer screen. Like, I wanted it, the production value and everything that I've kind of seen now come to life, to have its own specific purpose, right? The other part is being your own boss. So that was another point that I touched on in my intro piece. And that is the very heavy, hectic part. I have learned a lot in the last year. So last year in January, I decided to go out on my own and to finally like put all my energy and just everything I had towards my drag career. I was working in corporate jobs forever and just really was like, this just isn't what I see for my life. This isn't what I want for who I am. Like, I've always been a performer at heart. I've always had just big dreams to do just such big things. And so I was like, if I take kind of a moment to be like, okay, well, working in corporate America is not what I want, but I do know that I want to be a performer. I want to be a business person. I want to learn the ins and outs of what that looks like. And, being your own boss is scary. It takes confidence in yourself. It takes, a boldness and a recognition that, you really can do this, and you can create the life that you want for yourself, and you can create the opportunities for yourself. But it takes that vision within all that you are to be able to channel that, right? So, being your own boss isn't just saying, well, I'm just going to start working for myself. It's not that. It's saying, I'm going to fall 1,000 times. I'm going to, make mistakes. I'm going to spend my money on the wrong things, probably for me on a Beyonce ticket that I shouldn't have bought. Or in last year's case, going to her concert twice. Twice. So, you do the things that kind of, sometimes you're like, okay, realistically, I probably should have spent my money on, like saving towards my goals. But with that, you also have to say, you have to make room for you. You have to make room for what's fun to you. If you're not making room for your personal just rewards, then that takes away from the aspect of being able to boss up. Because I think, we can get lost a lot of times in just, focusing solely on our work and just being so bogged down in it, and that can take away sometimes if you're not being able to take time just to focus on you and focus on what you want. So, you know, being your own boss, hey, am still learning every day. It's a journey. It's an ever growing process. But I have noticed along the way, with just the conversations I've had with friends, like new friends, old friends, everyone in between, that like I have people reach out constantly that are like, just seeing you in your element and seeing you be able to take chances and take risks, like it allows me to know that I can do that too. And so the biggest thing that I think that I would tell you all that are listening is, go step out of your comfort zone. Take a boldness in who you are and find what makes sense to you. It doesn't have to be something that you figure out overnight. It doesn't have to be anything that you suddenly have to be like, okay, well, today I'm going to decide to do this. Like it can evolve. I my sister actually, she's still in high school and we talk all the time because she's in that phase of her life where, big college time is coming and there's this time to like really decide, like make these decisions that seem like you have to make them right away. And one of the biggest things that I told her, shout out to Maya, I love you. But one of the biggest things that I told her was, make room for your life to change and make room for your life to evolve. I remember when I was in school, I wanted to be a dentist. Now, knowing me, I don't want to get all up in anybody's grill. That is not my tea at all. But back in the day, that sounded like what I wanted. I wanted to go into the medical field and I wanted to kind of like chase that dream. And in high school, I even kind of went into clinicals. We had like a clinical class that you could do for a semester where you were able to kind of, shadow, health professionals and all that. But that was kind of where I thought my life was headed. And, here we are. Now I'm a man in a wig. Hello, honey. Okay. But it took all of that to really like get to this point because that's kind of what I have told my sister time and time again. I'm like, I know that, right now she's really, really wanting to go into law school and be a lawyer, which I love because that means she's going to be able to get me all out of hell or all out of the things that I go through at some point in my life. And I love that journey for her. And I love that she's always had a big heart like me to, help people and to seek things out to, be able to, just do things for other people that are bigger than her. So, for me, I just am always adamant about, making sure that she knows that, that's great. I support that. And maybe there's someone in your life that you feel the same way towards, that they tell you all their dreams, all their goals, all their aspirations. And, like it sounds great for their life. And the one thing that we don't always realize or we don't allow is for things to change. And I have done so many jobs along the way. I mean, I was a retail manager, I was a flight attendant, I am now a full-time drag artist. Like I just I think that if I didn't leave room for myself to grow and evolve, that I just wouldn't be in this space today to be in a place where I'm living authentically, to be kind of my own boss. But it's taken so many different journeys to allow myself to get here. And I've watched all kinds of entrepreneurs along my journey and even down to like some of the bosses I've had previously in my life. Like I've learned a lot from them. And in those spaces sometimes it's like, damn, like I wish that I didn't have someone that was just harping over me and barking orders at me and telling me what I should be doing. And I to a point agree with that. But I think there's been a lot of growth within myself and maybe for you too, those of you that are listening. And it's like maybe there's been opportunities that you've had where you've seen how maybe a boss in your life or another entrepreneur that you've watched in your life has kind of shaped you in a way and helped you on your journey. And I give such huge props to just so many of the mentors and the people that have stood by me and really just kind of guided me and shown me the way throughout my life. And I think that all of that really plays a part into kind of who you are and where you go and what you're able to do. But it also part of, touching back on being your own boss is like there's a very, very specific level of work ethic that you have to have that is so important that not everyone has, unfortunately. But with that being said, I don't think that that's something that you can't work towards. I think that, we all have things that have been able to make us have that strong work ethic. And sometimes we haven't had a choice. Sometimes all that we've known is work, 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 and that becomes a grind. But having that kind of grind mentality and work ethic, like it really does push you forward. It really does level you up in a way that those around you may not, you know? And I think for so many people, like for me, for instance, like I left home at 18. Like the day that I turned 18, I said, Mom, I love you, but peace out, mother dearest. I gotta go. Because I always wanted my own life. I wanted my own independence and I wanted my own just everything. And some people, that I know still, which, shade, but no shade at the same time, but maybe a lot of shade. Who knows? It is a little shady in here today. But some people still live at home with their parents, and I'm almost 31 years old, and that's fine. That's their journey, that's their tea. But like, hopefully, those people are still finding things that make sense to them and that still allow them to have a path for themselves. But I think that, there's a level where, like, for me, my mom never really coddled me or like was ever like, I'm gonna take care of you forever. My mom was always like, you have to work hard. Like, if you want anything in this life, you have to be the one to go after it and go get it. Like, there's not anyone that's going to provide it for you. And I think her drilling that in my head and just like playing that over and over and over throughout my life, just as I got older and older and older, it never left me because she's so right about that. Like, there's never a time where someone's just going to hand you everything. Money's never going to be handed to you. Opportunities are never going to be handed to you. Things that manifest themselves in your life, those things aren't handed to you. They are a result of what you've worked so hard to get. And I think people really, especially now in 2024, I mean, we're in such a world where everyone wants instant gratification. We all watch everyone and on their TikToks and on their, Instagrams, and everything looks like it just popped up and happened overnight. And for some people that does happen. Sometimes people do something over like the night before and the next morning they wake up and they're superstars, and that's great. But I think that we've become so accustomed in a way to that happening and to seeing that over and over and over, where like everybody wants to be a TikTok sensation, everybody wants to have 1 million followers on Instagram, but no one wants to work towards it anymore. And it's interesting to kind of watch that happen, because it kind of leads me to my next point here in just a second. But it's interesting to see how many people just want that instant gratification for everything. And it becomes almost entitlement, and then it manifests itself in jealousy. Like, why does she have that? I want that. Or why do they get those opportunities? I want those opportunities. But those are the same people that are, at the bar or at the club every weekend until 2 a.m. When for someone like myself, like I don't go out a lot. I'm a person that's like, I like to sit at home. I like to recharge my energy. I like to figure out, what's my next step? What's my next journey? Where am I going next? What's the next goal? And that kind of sets me apart. And sometimes that path gets lonely. And I've, seen this quote over and over again. It's like, sometimes you have to sacrifice temporary fun for a lifetime of success. And that's so true. You have to. Like, temporary fun is great, and the highs of that are wonderful. And I love that. I have nights where I do go out and I have so much fun, but I don't go out on Thursday and I don't go out on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Like, it's like, pick a day, choose a day, like choose a night to go have fun and let loose, but don't let all of what you might call FOMO, fear of missing out from your friends, like don't let all that just suck you in, because that is what deters you really from what it is that your path is. I don't ever shame any of my friends that choose to go out every weekend or go out all the time. At one point in my life, that was my life. I was out Wednesday to Sunday every week. But then there comes a point where you're like, you know what? This isn't getting me to the goals. This isn't getting me to what I ultimately dreamed for myself. Like, this is getting me a little, a high, a buzz, a whatever for tonight. But then I wake up tomorrow and I feel like shit. And I'm not motivated to do that. And the other piece of just kind of, building the whole everything that you want together is, you have to be able to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that people that have that same drive, that have that same, want to achieve goals. If you're someone who's driven and you're someone who, can't be stopped, and no matter what happens in your life, your resilience always pushes you forward. But then on the other hand, your friends are friends that, are just kind of not in that same space in their life. Then ultimately, how are you going to continue to push yourself forward if you're being pulled back by people who ultimately just don't share the same interests or the same liking as you or the same place that you're in life? And I think that we also get scared. We get scared to lose friends. We get scared to lose people that have been close to us along the way, Like, it's important to know that sometimes growth and the things that are ahead for you, not everybody can go where you're going. And that is so true, and it continues to be such a huge part of my life, and a very, very tough lesson that I've had to learn kind of along the way is losing kind of people that have been the closest to me at some point. But I can't, I'm at a place in my life now, and maybe you are too, where I just don't have the time or the energy to invest in people that just don't see a bigger vision or a bigger picture for themselves. And it doesn't mean that I don't like you or that we can't get along or we can't be cordial, but that means I can't let you as close to me as maybe we once were, or that, I would like us to be. Because if I do that, then in some way, not, I'm doing a disservice to myself by not putting my goals and dreams first. So, if there's anything that I can tell you just in listening to this is like, make sure that who you surround yourself with, number one, that they truly have your back and that they truly support you, because there's a lot of people who claim to be, your friend and claim to be, having your side and support you. And at the same time, those are the same people that are reporting back to your enemies to let you know exactly what you're doing. So, you have to be able to know that the people you surround yourself with have your best interests and all of your goals in mind, and vice versa. Like, show up for your friends too. Show up for your people in your life. Like, don't just expect people to be drop everything for you and then you be the one that doesn't show up for them. Like, it's very much so a two-way street. And I know we're bogged down by, our own lives, things that we have personally going on. And it can get hard to show up for people. It can get hard to expect people to show up for us. But the biggest thing is finding that mutual ground where you're like, okay, like, like, I have friends all the time, they may not physically be at my drag shows. They may not physically show up for events that I have, but they're the kind of friends that will send me a text before my show, like right before I'm about to go on stage, and say, kill it tonight. I'm rooting for you. I love you. And that gives me chills just thinking about it, because those are the type of connections and people that I want to surround myself with. So if there's something in your life that you're trying to go after and you're trying to find and, figure out what that niche is for you, I would just tell you, like, make sure that those people are doing something like that for you. And maybe it starts with you doing it for them. Maybe it's like, tomorrow's a big meeting for your friend, or tomorrow's a big interview, or, someone's, moving on, like, to a new city. Like, maybe just sending that text that's like, I'm so proud of you. Like, those are the moments that, we don't talk about enough, that we don't dive into enough, because people really need that. We all need that. We need that, like, awareness that someone's looking out for us. And it doesn't look like a physical presence a lot of time. I mean, I know half of my friends, we don't even live in the same city. We live across the US, across the world from each other, and we still find time to connect with each other and, make sure that we're rooting for each other. So surround yourself with those good people. And that kind of builds into the whole form of you being able to, be your own boss because you have that energy that kind of lifts you up and builds itself around you. And the only way that you can do that is if you have the energy to do it. But it takes placing not only the energy in yourself, but the energy that you surround yourself with, placing that strategically around you. The other piece that has always, been a huge part, I think, of this podcast is slaying in your own lane. Now, I don't know about you, but I have had my fair share of haters, haterade, honey. Okay. So, in part of slaying in your own lane, people are going to find ways to tear you down because success is something that people can't handle. Success is something that everyone wants. Everyone wants to be on top. Everyone wants to find their way to just be that it girl, right? But no one knows the journey of what it's like to truly find your lane and stay in it. And the bigger that you build yourself, the bigger that you build your empire, the more that you go after the things that truly matter to you and that you truly want for your life, it brings a whole new level of energy from outside forces that truly want to prey on your downfall. And a prime example of that, and this is kind of difficult to talk about because it was something I had never faced and never gone through before, on my own. And everyone talks about, growing up being gay and growing up different and growing up all of that, but I never really struggled with that. My friendships and the people I surrounded myself with, fortunately, all supported me. And as no surprise to anyone, most of the people when I came out were like, bitch, we already knew that. That wasn't anything we didn't know. You were spitting out glitter before you could even tell us that you were gay. Okay. But for a lot of people, it's hard, to be able to just be authentically you. And when people see that and they see you being able to do that, it brings in those forces. And so kind of back to what I was getting to was I had my first experience last month, in January, with cyberbullying. And I had never faced that before. I had never gone through anything like that. And it was very, very dark and difficult to journey through because, you kind of expect that from middle school and high school these days. Granted, when I grew up, I still had the Nokia with the antenna, okay, that you could play Tetris on. So we didn't have all the thing. My computer still dialed up, and then someone would call the home line, and literally, like, it would throw me off the internet. So that's the world that I lived in. But I don't live in this current world of these middle schooler and high school kids where cyberbullying is a thing. So for me to now almost be 31 years old, experiencing this with grown ass adults was something very, very dark and difficult. And I'm kind of touching on this because it's important for us all to know that, you know, success is a threat to a lot of people. Success is just a difficult pill for a lot of people to swallow. And, as soon as someone sees that you are authentically yourself, you have people backing you, you have people that love what you do, you have people that want to support you in everything. Then you have the trolls. Then you have the people that can't stand to see you win, that want to see you fall. And going through that experience, I had to go inward, and and maybe you're someone who's listening that's been cyberbullied before, or maybe you're someone who's listening that's been bullied in general. And I cannot even begin to explain what that feels like. And, if you're listening and you've never been bullied, then this will probably be hard for you to grasp. But for the people that have, it is a dark place that it takes you mentally. And, to a place where you start to really believe all these things that people decide to say about you, to tear you down. It's very just twisted in its own way. And RuPaul has always said, pay your taxes and don't read the comments. And let me tell you, that has never been more true in my life. That not reading the comments, like, wow, like people sit behind a computer screen and suddenly with their whole chest are ready to just rip you apart, and that is so wild to me because I am not that kind of person. If you know me and you're listening, you know I will bring it to your court. You have a problem, you want to talk about it, let's get through it, because I'm not going to do this whole back and forth through a text or back and forth with phone calls. Like, let's figure this shit out. And so to go through something where people are sitting behind a computer and just destroying you, and I had people like, you're so ugly, your makeup sucks, the way you dance is so untalented, like everything that you could think of that just diminishes who you are as a person and as a character, they go after. And so a big part of being in a point where you're slaying in your own lane, you have to know like the outside effects of what that looks like. Because yes, are you confident? Absolutely. Are you slaying in your own lane? 100%. But there are a lot of people that don't want to see that for you. There are people that don't want to see you be, they don't want to see you be the top seller of houses. They don't want to see you be the top performer in your company. They don't want to see you get married. They don't want to see you do all these big life changing moments. They just don't. And there are people that just, no matter how much time goes on and how many things happen for you, they'll just never want to see you win because it's you. And they can't support you like in a like outward way because it's you. And those are people that just hate from a distance because they're unhappy with themselves. But the biggest thing that I can tell you is if you're at a point where you're like in your own lane and going after your own, dreams and aspirations, is don't let those forces and those people and those naysayers like attack you and get away with it. Let them be just background noise, and let that be the fuel that guides you into your next chapter of life, whatever that looks like. Like, allow that to like light a fire under you that not a single person could ever touch or burn out. And I'm sitting here preaching this to y'all, but like this is something I'm learning too. And it's very interesting and it's like that's what I love, I think, about doing this podcast and starting my own journey, is the fact that I am also being able to heal myself through also talking about things that may also heal you. And it's important to know that I am human and I deal with probably a lot of similar things that a lot of you deal with. But it's important to know that we're all kind of in this journey together, and we're all kind of growing and maturing. For me, like, I am big about, it's not for everyone, but for me it is. Like, I'm in therapy. I'm big about therapy. I think that it helps a lot in a lot of ways, and I think in some shape or form that I hope that even this podcast, in me doing my own personal therapy, can be like kind of therapeutic for you to kind of learn things about yourself, and for when you get done listening to be like, damn, I feel like a boss ass bitch today, and I'm gonna go out into the world and I'm gonna slay, and I'm gonna walk with a new confidence that I didn't have 35, 40 minutes ago, before listening to this. And that's the important part of kind of my journey and what I've gone through, is I do believe that I was put on this earth for a purpose, for a dream, for my own, voice to be heard. Because I think that, and the people that I've talked to and I've connected with, they're like, you being able just to go out and do you and be you, like, it builds something in me that I didn't know that I had. And so I hope that that's kind of what this does for you, that like, you know, when you walk away from these episodes, when you're listening to my special guests that I bring on, when you're listening to me talking, and sometimes you're like, is this bitch ever gonna shut up? And I'm gonna be like, yeah, same, girl, I can't. But at the same time, it's like when you're listening to all of this, I hope that it kind of builds a new confidence in yourself. And it's taken me a long time to find my own confidence. And it's taken me a lot of years to be able to walk as freely as I do in this world. And there's a lot of trip ups. There's a lot of people that, try to not want to see that happen for you. And sometimes you get caught up in your own head and you're like, am I able to do this? Am I enough? Am I what, everyone's saying? That's, all these trolls. Am I that person? Like, no, you have to be able to kind of sit with that, recognize who you are, and know that, your worth, your purpose, your dreams, all of that stuff is for a reason, and it has a purpose if you put purpose behind it. And none of what we do in this life is just, you know I don't think, like, for no reason. I think everything has its purpose, its place, and its reasoning behind it being what it is. But I think, tapping into your worth, finding out what that is for you, what that looks like for you, that's an important part of this journey of life is knowing who you are. Some people are scared of authenticity. And let me tell you, the more authentic you are, the more that people just cannot stand you. And you have to be able to say, but that's me. And I've worked very hard to be here and to get to this point. So yeah, I think that today's episode was so important because I wanted to touch base on what kind of made this podcast what it is and where I want to see it go. And I think, like I said, hearing stories from not only myself but other people allows you to kind of be like, damn, if they can go do that, like, what am I doing sitting on my couch, or what am I doing partying every weekend? Bitch, I should be at home, like, figuring out how I'm gonna be the next millionaire. You know what I mean? Like, if those are really things that you tell yourself and those are really things that you want and you don't just say them to say them, then make it happen. Go after it, chase it. Manifest your dreams, be your own boss, and slay in your own lane. That's what I've said from the beginning, and those are things that I will hold on to and keep holding on to as long as this podcast exists, because it's important to know and it's important to journey through that on your own. And I think a lot of the people that I, look forward to talking to, and the people that I've, talked to so far, it's like that's what they're doing in their lives. And it's important that each of us find our own niche, our own connection to self, and our own way to thrive and be the baddest bitches that we all know that we can be. Because we all are. However you identify in this world, you're a bad bitch. Okay, I'm just saying it. It is what it is. Like, whatever you want, whatever you dream, whatever goals that you have, those are innately you and only you. And so I hope today that you walk away feeling like you can thrive, you can go chase something new, you can go tap into that thing that's been written on your notepad that's in your drawer that you keep your lube in, like all of that, like all of those things that you've written down can truly, truly come true. They can happen for you, and you're the only person that stands in your way. So don't lose sight of your dreams. Don't lose sight of your goals. Don't lose sight of who you are. And don't let people in this world tell you who you are. Be who you are, manifest it all, and keep motherfucking slaying, because y'all are all doing it. And I know that this year is only going to manifest even bigger things for all of you because it's already doing it. So keep that energy up and keep on trucking. I love you all so much. I want to say thank you again for listening today to another episode of Cash Talks, for journeying on this solo episode with me once again, because it's important to have the solo moments, right? You want to highlight people, but also have, moments where you hone in on specific things. So I hope that you continue listening, that you enjoy this space and this podcast. And yeah, keep following me on all the social medias at I am Samora Cash. And yeah, we'll be back soon with another episode of Cash Talks. Once again, I'm here at Dude IDK Studios, and this was your girl Samora Cash for Cash Talks. Peace and love.